Donald Trump is fighting back with some defamation lawsuits of his own. How's it going, guys? Welcome back to UnwokeThoughts. Trump sues ABC George Stephanopoulos for defamation after host accused him of R-word here in Mace interview. Yeah, you know, guys, I talk about this ad nauseum. Every time I think about the E. Jean Carroll case, I got to go into all the reason E. Jean Carroll is just this crazy lady. She's not credible one bit. But, at some point, it just gets kind of repetitive because, there's nothing I can do about it. It is what it is. New York State, New York City specifically, is a corrupt place run by Democrats. And Democrats, they don't have any ethics. They don't have any morals. And they only understand one thing, and that's power. That's their moral compass is power. And I would argue, probably most of you would argue, that is not a moral compass whatsoever. And because of the fact that Donald Trump is who he is and the fact that he has become the political enemy of the Democrats, he's not just their opponent. No. The Democrats, they think in a whole different mind frame. Donald Trump is their literal enemy. So any methods to put him under are justified in their mind. He is a threat to their power. He is a threat to their corruption. And when someone like that goes up against you to force like the Democrats, and especially these corrupt Democrats, and I think a lot of them are. I think most of the Democrats are corrupt. I mean, the ones that are really bad are these far left Democrats. But at the end of the day, I think they're all complicit. I'm not saying every Democrat is bad. But what happens when an issue comes up and the Democrats are called to vote on something? They all band together. It's like it doesn't matter what it is. There's not a whole lot of deviation from the norm when it comes to Democrats voting. And what you see in New York is just specifically egregious. And I think the E. Jean Carroll case was just a perfect example of this because you had a lady who accused Donald Trump of doing something 20 years ago, and there were multiple inconsistencies in her story. The judge would not allow Donald Trump's lawyer to admit certain things into evidence. He would overrule every single objection just about that Donald Trump's lawyer had, and he would sustain every objection just about that E. Jean Carroll's lawyer had. So, being put in that position, I can't imagine what that's like. This justice system that's supposed to uphold justice, that's supposed to be fair and balanced, has turned and has become a political arm of the Democratic Party. But Donald Trump, he is not just simply sitting back and taking this. I know this has really nothing to do with New York, but I'm kind of drawing a parallel here because Donald Trump was sued for defamation by E. Jean Carroll, and she won. She won, what was it, like $83 million, something like that? But Donald Trump has now sued George Stephanopoulos for defamation. And this is because George Stephanopoulos, in an interview with Nancy Mace, said that Donald Trump R-worded E. Jean Carroll. Let's take a look at this very short article right here, guys. It says, former President Donald Trump has filed a defamation lawsuit against ABC News and George Stephanopoulos, claiming his reputation was tarnished by the anchor, saying multiple times on air that Trump had been found liable for R-wording writer E. Jean Carroll. Oof. I would be upset about this one too. If someone is saying on live TV that I even touched that woman, I would be pretty upset. I'd be pretty disgusted. But Trump filed the lawsuit in federal court in Miami on Monday over a viral interview between Representative Nancy Mace and Stephanopoulos on This Week on March 10th, according to The Hill. The suit takes aim at Stephanopoulos' questioning for saying Trump had been found liable for R-word, when a jury in a Manhattan civil case last year only found Trump liable for sexual abuse under New York law. Quote, judges and two separate juries have found him liable for R-word and for defaming the victim of the R-word. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw? Stephanopoulos asked during the interview. See, this is one of the tactics that they use. Now, Donald Trump, of course, he was found liable for sexual assault of E. Jean Carroll. They did not find him guilty of the R word. They did not. The jury, I think they just saw how crazy E. Jean Carroll was. They saw their inconsistencies, and she just wasn't credible. But at the same time, the defendant is Donald Trump. So what are they supposed to do? So they're like, well, we're not going to find him guilty of R word because it's just not credible whatsoever. But we're going to go with the lesser sentence of sexual assault. And both of them are lies. But, when your defendant is Donald Trump and you're in the state of New York, you can't just let him walk away, right? So they decided that they at least have to do this. And then Donald Trump, he is rightfully upset about this verdict because, I think anybody that looks at this with a clear head can see that this verdict makes no sense. And, he he defends himself publicly. And he doesn't say anything too crazy. And then he is sued for defamation. The second time, he has to pay this lady who accused him of this $83 million. But this is just another tactic of the left because they know that the R word carries a lot more weight than the sexual assault word. And, it's not enough for them to get this ruling against Trump, this corrupt ruling that he sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll. No. He was found guilty of that. So now they got to elevate it. They got to escalate it to the R word because in their minds, I bet they really think he did that because anything that's negative against Trump, they're going to accept. And it doesn't matter what it is. These people have some sort of chemical imbalance in their brains that causes them to think irrationally when it comes to anything Trump. But this is an interview that Donald Trump is suing George Stephanopoulos over, where George Stephanopoulos goes after Nancy Mace for defending Donald Trump. Listen to this.
I still get judged for it today.
I'm asking you a very simple question.
And I answered it. You're shaming me for my political choices.
I'm asking you a question about why you endorse someone who's been found liable for rape.
It was not a criminal court. This was
a civil court.
It was a civil court. And by the way, she joked about the judgment and what she was going to do with all that money, and I find that offensive.
I'm asking you about
the man as a rape victim who's been shamed for years now because of her rape, you're trying to shame me again by asking me this political question.
You've repeated that again.
I think it's offensive. As a woman, I find it offensive. My political choices, I've endorsed the man that I believe is best for our country. It's not Joe Biden. And you looked at the dueling rallies yesterday in Georgia. Laken Riley's family was with Donald Trump. They weren't with Joe Biden. The same guy yesterday that apologized for calling her killer an illegal, who wasn't illegal. And here you are trying to shame a rape victim. I find it disgusting.
I mean, you keep saying I'm shaming you.
You are. The question, it is.
How is the question asking you about a presidential candidate who's
You're asking a rape victim.
And there's no question about that. And you've courageously talked about that.
Because I've been raped. I think that's disgusting.
No, I'm questioning your political choices because you're supporting
me. You're
someone who's been found liable for rape. Actually, I'm not trying to shame you.
You are. That's exactly what you're doing.
You're not answering the question.
I think it's disgusting.
Well, you're welcome to say that, but you have to answer the question. Why are you supporting someone who's been found liable for rape?
I just answered your question.
What is the answer?
He was not found guilty in a criminal court of law. It was sexual abuse. It wasn't actually rape, by the way. And E. Jean Carroll joked about all the money she's going to get and made a mockery out of this case. And I think that's offensive. There's a reason why women don't come forward. And when you have someone who says that they're raped and they make a mockery out of this civil court judgment, it's offensive to other women. It makes it harder for other women to come forward when another woman has made a mockery of it.
You said women don't come forward because they are afraid. They are afraid because
they're judged and shamed by those who trying to shame me this morning.
They are afraid to come forward, as you said, because they are defamed by those who commit the rape. That's what Donald Trump has been found guilty of doing.
He defended himself over that and denies that it ever happened, but he was not found guilty in a criminal court of law.
Typically I wouldn't appreciate or like this tactic that Nancy Mace is using here. I just don't feel like it is a conservative way to approach an issue. But I think what Nancy Mace is doing here is she's basically fighting fire with fire, because this is the tactic that the left uses all the time. Like, oh, you're shaming a victim. You're coming after me. Look, I'm a survivor and you're coming after me for this. And, I don't like that tactic whatsoever. But, sometimes I think it's important, as long as you're doing it in a cognizant way. You know what you're doing it intentionally, to basically throw these leftist tactics back in their face. I think Republicans and conservatives shouldn't necessarily adopt these tactics. I think Nancy Mace should have here kind of focused a little bit more on the credibility of the case, the credibility of E. Jean Carroll, and more focused on the fact that what George Stephanopoulos was saying was wrong. He was not convicted of that. He was, in fact, convicted of sexual assault in a civil court. But what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think of Donald Trump suing George Stephanopoulos? Do you think it's going to go anywhere? I mean, I think he has a lot more grounds to stand on suing George Stephanopoulos than E. Jean Carroll did suing him. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.